What if Google told you exactly what you needed to do to improve your website, get more clicks, and ultimately get more cases? Well, the cool thing is that this is happening right now with a new feature that just launched with Google Search Console. I'm going to break it all down for you, how you can get the most value out of it, some things you maybe don't want to do when you see those recommendations, and ultimately how you can use it to your advantage to get more traffic, more cases for your law firm. Welcome to another episode of the Optimized Law Firm Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Carver. I'm the CEO of Constellation Marketing, and this is the podcast for helping you run a more profitable and enjoyable law firm. And today's episode, we are going to talk about Google's launch of their new personalized SEO recommendations for law firm owners through the Google Search Console product. Imagine having your own personal SEO consultant, just one you didn't have to pay for. That's pretty much what you get with Google's new Google Search Console recommendations feature. So now I may have oversold that just a bit, but let's talk about what this recommendations feature is, what Google Search Console is, and how you can take advantage of this to your benefit and improve the performance of your law firm's website. So if you're not familiar with Google Search Console, this is a tool that is typically used by webmasters, people who own websites, and also very commonly used in the SEO community. The best way you can think about this is that it's your private connection to Google, basically the closest you can get to hearing what Google actually thinks about your website, because the search algorithm is basically the closed key secret, right? It's under lock and key. And you do not have really any idea what goes on in the algorithm. Of course, we have what we believe is good working knowledge of it, and we get that from testing and learning about it throughout the industry. But the reality is there's no document online that talks about all of the different factors that go into Google search rankings. So ultimately, ourselves and everybody else out there is working off of complete gut sentiment, right? They do not know any of these things for a fact. It's just based on the good ones are doing it based on testing, and the bad ones are just out there repeating, the last article they read from an influencer or somebody who thinks they know about SEO. So Google Search Console is a tool that you effectively are putting your website in, and you're telling Google, hey, my website exists. This is the sitemap of my website, and please add me to the search engine. So when you're getting a new website going, you want to add yourself to Google Search Console. From there, it's going to give you data back based on what their crawlers see and more or less rate your website. It's going to tell you like how accessible it is, how quickly it loads, is it loading fast enough? Are there problems with specific pages? And so a lot of what we're talking about today is really not that new. We've been utilizing Google Search Console for at least 10 years since we started the business. And it's been a powerful tool because it's the first place you want to go add your sitemap so that it gets indexed, and so it gets crawled first and then indexed into the search engine. So the first place we go when we're updating a page or creating a new website or any of that is we want to go plug it into Google Search Console, because the faster you get it in there, the faster Google has a chance to see it and ultimately start to crawl it and then determine where it should be in their index. And that's effectively your starting point for you appearing in search results. So the big announcement now is related to this new recommendations area that's actually inside Google Search Console. So prior to this, you would get a bunch of pretty technical data about your website. It's going to tell you like crawl rate. It's going to tell you different things like problems that may be happening with your website and how often it's crawled, different measurements like that go into whether or not it is optimized properly when it comes to speed, when it comes to responsiveness, things like that. A problem for the casual websiteer or the casual website owner, law firm owner who's managing their own website or is in charge of that component is like, it's just very challenging. It's technical data. You really have to understand what what that means, and then actually implementing a lot of those changes is a whole separate can of worms and very difficult, because a lot of it has to do with changing things at the host level or on the back end of a website. It's not just going in to a website page and adding a few words or something like that. These are pretty sophisticated changes that you often need a developer for to go in and do that. Now, the problem is that Google is very not forthcoming with a lot of this information, right? And so they're not really going to tell you a lot of these things. So they'll give you some of these indications, but you can go off and try to fix a problem that they highlight, but they won't really tell you if you've actually fixed it. And so the kind of yin and yang here is that you do get insight into the way Google looks at your website, but you don't always get that confirmation that like what you've done to address their concerns is the actual thing they wanted you to do, or if it passes, right? And so there's some other issues that we have with it, or challenges that it creates for us.